Just as the project I had worked on for months was about to be signed, the CEO's wife had HR cancel my discounted plane ticket and instead booked me a standing ticket for a regular train. When I questioned this, she turned around and accused me of being wasteful. The airfare exceeded the travel reimbursement limit. Even though you're my husband, I can't break company rules for you, or it would make managing the company difficult in the future. Xiao Yunxiue gave me a contemptuous glance. There's nothing wrong with taking the train. Can't you, as a grown man, be less delicate? I had no time to argue with her. After enduring over 20 hours squeezed on the train, I finally arrived at the partner company, only to be told the project had already been signed. When I opened my phone, I saw a new post from Zhao Su, the company's new intern. The photo showed 2 first-class round-trip plane tickets and a redacted project contract. With the caption, "Successfully completed the mission, grateful for the trust given by our beautiful CEO." It was early summer, and though the sunlight fell lazily on my body, I couldn't feel any warmth. The blood in my body felt almost frozen. The truth of the matter was now clear. What cannot break company rules? Xiao Yunxiue had HR change my schedule, just to buy time for Zhao Su to replace me in signing the project with the partner company. The project I had worked day and night to succeed in for months was easily transferred to become his achievement. After stepping on me to become the project's executive director, Zhao Su's position in the company would also rise accordingly. Xiao Yunxiue really showed extreme favoritism towards this junior schoolmate, who was several years below her. But if she could achieve her goal by simply canceling my flight ticket, why did she go to the extra trouble of booking me a train ticket? Of course, I specifically suggested this to General Manager Qiao. After returning to the company, Zhao Su smiled maliciously. Although you almost messed up this project, you've worked hard for months even if there's no merit in it. The company is willing to let bygones be bygones and even pay for you to go out and relax. Brother Nan, you must work hard to repay General Manager Qiao in the future. I really wanted to smash my fist into that face, but under everyone's watchful eyes, I didn't want to give them any ammunition against me. After all, Zhao Su dares to be so arrogant in front of me because of Xiao Yunxue's indulgence. Taking a deep breath, I turned and entered Xiao Yunxue's office. "Ah Su, what interesting thing." The moment she saw it was me, Xiao Yunxue's doting tone changed, and her brows furrowed coldly. "You don't even know to knock before entering. Go out and come in again." Zhao Su never knocked when entering the office, but I had never seen her give him a cold look for it. I mocked myself internally. But unlike before, I didn't follow her order to leave. Since Xiao Yunxue wants Zhao Su to be in charge of this project, I'll grant her wish. In this CEO's office, for the first time, I made a request unrelated to work. I want to take my annual leave. The flying pin grazed my earlobe before landing on the carpet behind me. I felt a burning pain on my earlobe. Xiao Yunxue slapped the table and coldly questioned, "Do you know how busy the company is right now? As my husband, not only do you not help share my pressure, but you're actually asking for annual leave." It seems Axa was right. I've really spoiled you these past few years. Huh. I couldn't help but mock. Your way of spoiling me is giving the project I've been working on for so long to Zhao Su? Xiao Yunxue's expression changed slightly, but quickly returned to normal. "You've got it wrong. I did this for your health. You've been exhausted these past few months trying to sign this contract. If you were to take on the role of project executive director as well, I'm worried your health wouldn't be able to handle it. It just so happens that Zhao Su needs experience. Giving him this project for practice is killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Don't be needlessly jealous. All these arrangements are for the company's development. If that's really what you think, why resort to such dirty tactics?" Xiao Yunxue gently tapped the table with her slender fingers and said earnestly, "Although you're no longer the overall manager, you still need to put in more effort. After all, Asu just graduated and lacks experience, so you need to help him more. After being stripped of my position, you still want me to continue being exploited?" Perhaps she hadn't noticed herself, but whenever she mentioned Zhao Su, her eyes would unconsciously reveal traces of joy. In our 7 years of marriage, I hadn't seen such an expression on her face for a long time. My wife had found a new love. Concealing the emotions in my heart, I spoke calmly. "Since the company's founding, I've never taken annual leave. With my years of service, I must have accumulated about a month of vacation days. This afternoon, I will submit my leave application through the company app and officially start my annual leave tomorrow." Xiao Yunxue narrowed her eyes. "Stop being ridiculous. I won't let HR approve it." I repeated her previous words. "This is company policy. You can't violate it." As the company reached a crucial stage before going public, in order to complete more projects, I have been racking my brains this year, staying late at work every day until the stars were scattered across the sky. So much so that when I left the company at 5:30, I suddenly didn't know what to do. Just then, my phone rang. I opened my phone and received 2 messages almost back to back. To celebrate winning the project, the company is having a team build. ING celebration tonight. Anan. The cherries at home are almost ripe. After picking them in a few days, I'll mail some to you and Yunxue. The first message was a notice from Xiao Yunxue in the company group chat, and the second was a text from my mother. Two scenes floated in my mind. One was of Xiao Yunxue looking adoringly at Zhao Su in the office. The other was of my mother standing under the cherry tree, murmuring my name. A partner's love may disappear or shift with the passage of time, but parents' love only grows more fragrant with time, even if their children grow distant. I suddenly realized that as Xiao Yunshue's career ambitions grew heavier over these years, we visited our parents less and less frequently, gradually turning into perfunctory annual visits during Chinese New Year. These past 2 years, I've been the only one going back. It's not that I haven't asked Xiao Yunxue to come along, but every time, she shows an impatient attitude. If you want to go back, go by yourself. With so many things going on at the company, do you think I can leave? She even starts urging me to return to work before I've even left. But when we first started the business, we were even busier than now, yet we would still visit our parents together during holidays. Sometimes when I felt lazy to move, it was Xiao Yunxue who would actively urge me to go. As circumstances change, the difference between love and indifference becomes so obvious. It can be easily seen in one's attitude towards those closest to them. Initially, I took annual leave just to spite Xiao Yunxue, but now I've developed an impulse. I should go visit my parents. Once this thought emerged, it became increasingly irresistible. I immediately packed my luggage and bought the earliest available ticket home. The next morning, I found myself standing on the soil of my hometown. Just as I left the station, a sarcastic voice rang in my ears. Well, Manager Zhou, coming back alone again. Those who know might say your wife is busy, but others might think you're still single. I didn't need to turn around to know who it was. My childhood friend Chu Rue, who used to be such a sweet neighborhood girl, had developed quite a sharp tongue since studying law in university. I gave a slight smirk, ignored her sarcasm, and changed the subject after putting my suitcase in the trunk. Never mind me. I heard your last blind date didn't work out. Chu Rue rolled her eyes and said helplessly, Can't help it. Lawyers aren't popular in the dating market. People always worry about losing everything in a divorce. After getting in the car, I scratched my head. I thought you were in commercial law. When did you start handling divorce cases? Chu Rue gave me a knock on the head and stepped on the gas pedal in frustration. No, if you're looking to get divorced, I don't mind taking on a divorce case. Me? Seeing M. Why silence? She turned her head to look at me with some surprise. No way, I was just joking. Are you really thinking about it? Lies don't hurt people. Truth is the sharp knife. I pushed her head back. You're driving. Keep your eyes on the road. I don't want to die with you. Oh, okay. Chu Rue nervously adjusted her position. Afterwards, she seemed to want to ask something but held back, and I didn't want to answer. In the silence, the atmosphere in the car became somewhat strange. Before getting out of the car and going upstairs, Chu Rue asked, What about your parents? Should we tell them? I sighed. Let's keep it from them for now. 3 years of dating, 7 years of marriage. If Xiao Yunxue hadn't really cheated, I wouldn't want to resort to divorce. Facts proved. Parents want their children to visit often, but they don't want their children staying at home all the time. On the first day, they showed parental love. By the 5th day, they pushed me out the door at dawn. Now that you're back, you should go out more. What's the point of staying at home all day? The disapproving tone was left behind the closed door. I looked up and met eyes with Chu Rue, who was just heading out for work. My toes curled in embarrassment, wishing I could dig myself into a 3-story villa. Uff, she chuckled and said, All right, I'm visiting several clients today. If you have nothing to do, come with me. Better than making Uncle and Auntie worried. Perfect, you can be my driver too. It wasn't any special holiday, and all my friends were at work. I really had nowhere else to go. With a shrug, I got into her car. That following along turned into a whole day. Back at the residential parking lot, I rotated my sore ankles and gave Chu Rue a thumbs up. I was exhausted from walking, yet she showed no sign of fatigue after wearing high heels all day. I'm used to it. Today wasn't even the busiest. Just as she spoke, her legs gave way. If I hadn't quickly reached out to support her, she would have fallen to the ground. Sensing her weakness, I couldn't help but tease. With such a sharp tongue and stubbornness, no wonder you keep failing at blind dates. What are you two doing? I looked up in surprise to see Xiao Yunxue staring at us angrily from a short distance away. She walked over in her high heels with a clicking sound, her handbag almost hitting me. I really thought you came home to visit your parents. I wanted to let you rest for a few days, but you're actually here to rekindle an old flame. How could you do this to me? I frowned slightly. What do you mean by rekindling an old flame? I don't understand what you're talking about. You're still embracing right in front of me. What is there not to understand? Following Xiao Yunshue's gaze, my eyes fell on the arm that was supporting Chu Rue, and suddenly I understood. Earlier when I teased Chu Rue, she had given me a cold look. From Xiao Yunshue's position just now, Our posture could indeed be easily misunderstood. Chu Rui was innocent in this. She shouldn't have been dragged into the matters between Xiao Yunxue and me. You misunderstood. Chu Rui's legs were just weak. I was only helping her stand. But she didn't believe my explanation, not to mention there was someone else ready to make things worse. Zhao Su emerged from an unseen corner and walked to Xiao Yunxue's side, giving us a meaningful look. If I'm not mistaken, this lady just got out of the passenger seat. Who knows what Brother Nan and the lady were doing in the car to make her legs so tired. Then, he pretended to be startled and ducked behind Xiao Yunxue. Oh no, Brother Nan, did I say something wrong? I was just guessing. Please don't take it seriously. If it weren't for the obvious provocation in his eyes, I might have actually believed his act. By this time, Chu Rui had recovered. After standing up straight, she spoke before I could. According to national criminal law, defamation is punishable by up to 3 years in prison. If you're eager to go there, I'm happy to help you with that. She glanced at Zhao Su, her posture graceful and dignified. Since you're the kept man supported by my friend's wife, I can waive your lawyer fees. After all, the money you spend is my friend's marital property anyway, so there's no point in charging you. With these 2 remarks, Zhao Su turned pale while Xiao Yunxue blushed. Don't talk nonsense. Aksu is an employee at my company. He's just concerned and accompanied me here. Hearing this, Chu Rui just sneered. Though she said nothing, it seemed as if she had said everything. Unable to argue with her, Xiao Yunxue could only redirect her aggression towards me. There's a lot of work piled up at the company while you were away these past few days. Come back with me right now. You go ahead first. I'm still on annual leave. Hearing my calm response, Xiao Yunxue's face darkened. Even fooling around should have its limits. I've personally come to pick you up. Are you still trying to play hard to get? Seeing the situation, Zhao Su edged forward again. Brother Nan, CEO Qiao only took extra care of me because I was her junior schoolmate. If you're angry about this, I apologize. You don't know how concerned CEO Qiao was about you during these days when you were away. As long as you're willing to let go of your anger and come back, I can do anything. Anything. I drew out the word, and seeing Zhao Su nod, coldly said, if that's the case, quit the project and resign, then I'll come back. Brother Nan, do you really hate me this much? After I spoke, Zhao Su seemed deeply hurt, his body swaying slightly. He glanced at Xiao Yunxue, then turned his head away. All right, as long as Brother Nan can let go of his anger and CEO Qiao can be happy, I'll write my resignation letter when I get back. Enough, Xiao Yunxue shouted, her face as cold as winter. Ning Qinan, I never thought you could be so petty. Let me tell you, since I've already given that project to Asu, it's his, and no one can take it away. Since you're willing to rest, then keep resting, and it's better if you never come back. She glared at me fiercely before turning away and leaving. So let's go back. In a direction where Xiao Yunxue couldn't see, Zhao Su curved his lips at me smugly before following her. After their car drove away, I looked at Chu Rui, who was trembling trying to hold back her laughter, with a helpless expression. Just laugh if you want it, don't hold back. PFT. Sorry, I didn't mean to, haha. I can't believe you lost to that kind of green tea *TCH. I really can't help it. I can't take it anymore. I can't. Help me up. I have no strength left. Chu Rui was almost bent over with laughter. After recovering, she tried her best to hold back her laugh while saying to me, you've been back for several days. Tonight, I'll treat you to dinner. And help you ward off the bad luck. After saying that, she started laughing again. I silently clenched my fist. Given how she can take such pleasure in others' misfortunes, how could I possibly have had a past relationship with her? The night passed without a word. The next day at noon, I was awakened by my phone ringing. Holding my hangover-afflicted head, I answered the phone to hear Xiao Yunxue's angry voice. Ning Huainan, who gave you permission to resign? What? When did I resign? I felt like I hadn't sobered up yet, and was starting to hear things. Yeah, so you've learned to pretend too, have you? Don't think the company can't function without you. Let me tell you, that won't work. I already said yesterday, the project belongs to Aksu. No one can take it away. You want to resign? I'll grant your wish. I'm giving you 1 day. If you're not at the company by 8 a.m. tomorrow, I'll approve your resignation request. Before I could react, Xiao Yunxue hung up the phone. My sleepiness had somewhat dissipated, but my head felt even more confused. I remember going to sleep after drinking with Chu Rui last night, and I don't recall doing anything else. Thinking this way, I opened the company app. In the to-do list, my resignation application was hanging there conspicuously, and the process had already reached Xiao Yunxue. Once she, as the CEO, approves it, my resignation would be official. Did I submit my resignation while drunk last night, and then forgot about it after waking up? But I immediately ruled out this possibility. The company app showed that I submitted the resignation application at 8 o'clock this morning, while I went to bed before 10 last night. If I didn't submit it, Who did? I rubbed my head, feeling a headache. No one else has my company account password. It seems there couldn't be anyone else. Could I have developed sleepwalking? Or did my phone become sentient? As this last thought popped up, I couldn't help but laugh at my own absurd imagination. This isn't 2060. Shanyo hasn't been invented yet. The AI in the latest phones can't achieve this level yet. Wait, the latest phone? I looked at the new phone in my hand that I bought less than 3 months ago. The resignation application was indeed submitted through my company account. But that doesn't mean it was submitted from this phone. Company accounts allow multi-platform login. I remember I hadn't logged out of the company account on my old phone yet, and I didn't bring that phone back. The next day, in the company president's office, I pushed the door open and questioned directly before Xiao Yunxue could speak. Where's my old phone that I left in my workstation drawer? What old phone? Xiao Yunxue was stunned for a moment, then said carelessly, "Oh right, Axe's phone was broken, so I gave it to him to use." She tapped on the desk, looking very displeased. "Since you're back, I won't mention your resignation matter. Now go out and get to work." Having gotten my answer, I turned and left the office. I walked to Zhao Su's workstation. "Did you submit the resignation using my old phone?" I didn't suppress my anger, and many colleagues' attention was drawn over. Zhao Su's eyes flashed with malice, but his voice came out innocent. "Brother Nan, I don't understand what you're talking about." He showed a surprised expression. "CEO, Xiao has been so good to you, yet you want to resign? Keep pretending." I roared and punched him in the face. Zhao Su had provoked me many times before, but I had never raised a hand. Perhaps he thought it would be the same this time, and was completely off guard. In my anger, I didn't hold back. He fell backwards along with his chair, and in the chaos, many documents from his workstation scattered everywhere. Quite a few papers crashed down onto him. The scene was a mess, and many colleagues cried out in shock. As Zhao Su struggled to get up, I stepped forward and pressed down on him. My fists kept coming down. I appeared so frenzied that no colleague dared to come break up the fight. Only when Xiao Yunxue got the news and rushed over to pull me away did this one-sided beating finally stop. Slap. Before I could recover from the dizziness of being suddenly pulled up, Xiao Yunxue slapped me across the face. A familiar pain, a familiar taste of iron. I tapped my cheek with my tongue and looked at Xiao Yunxue in disappointment. But her eyes were even more disappointed than mine. "Isn't Asu just taking one of your projects? Do you really have to chase after him like this?" "Ning Huainan. I brought you back for work, not to fight. You need to apologize to Asu right now. If he doesn't forgive you, you won't have a job anymore." Zhao Su had already gotten up from the ground and tugged at Xiao Yunshue's sleeve upon hearing this. "President Xiao, I'm just a small intern. It's no big deal if Brother Nan hits me a couple of times. Brother Nan finally came back, so please don't argue with him anymore. I don't want you to be unhappy." With a face swollen from my beating, he spoke pitifully, and Xiao Yunshue's sympathy for him immediately increased by 3 points. So did her anger towards me. What's wrong with being an intern? Interns are also people. I won't allow anyone to bully others in my company just because of their seniority. Don't be afraid. I will stand up for you. After comforting Zhao Su for a few words, she glared at me angrily for my lack of initiative. Just because Aksu is kind-hearted doesn't mean you don't need to apologize. Why are you still standing there? Do I need to come over and invite you myself? I laughed bitterly in extreme anger. Before at the company, for the sake of Xiao Yunshue's authority, I always went along with her and never showed any displeasure in front of colleagues. But now I don't want to hold back anymore. Yeah, why don't you ask your supposedly kind and obedient junior what he did with my old phone? Brother Nan says I used his old phone to submit his resignation. Zhao Su clung to Xiao Yunxue with a wronged expression. "President Xiao, you have to help me. That day I took the phone and logged out of Brother Nan's company account right in front of you. I really didn't do anything. I know this has nothing to do with you." Xiao Yunxue patted his hand, then came up to slap me again. This time I was prepared and directly caught her right hand. "Oh, you blocked it." Slap. The next moment, she raised her left hand and slapped me. "Who told you to touch me? Let go of me." Xiao Yunxue yanked her hand away from mine, then grabbed a document and threw it at me. "Now that you've found out threatening to quit doesn't work, you're starting to feel ashamed, aren't you? If you know this kind of thing is shameful, then don't do it. Who told you to wrongly accuse others? Didn't you want to quit? I'll grant your wish right now." As she spoke, she took out her phone and started operating it. Soon, the phone in my pocket vibrated. "Now I've granted your wish and approved your resignation. Pack your things and get out of my company immediately." My cheeks were still burning from the slaps on both sides, but my heart had turned completely cold. When the company was just starting, I gave up an offer from a major corporation to accompany Xiao Yunxue from the beginning. Just because she said this was her dream. I gave up almost all my rest time, gave up socializing, gave up most chances to go home and see my parents. I worked from dawn to dusk every day, accompanying her in growing a small company to the brink of going public. Now, she fired me because of an intern who had just started working. Suddenly, I felt that all my years of dedication had become a joke. The arguments that were about to come out became meaningless. What was there to argue about? My explanation didn't matter, nor did the truth. What mattered was who she chose to believe. Where the heart is, there lies the answer. All the words in my heart finally became 5 words. Let's get divorced. Xiao Yunxue gave a cold laugh, her eyes full of contempt. What? Now you're threatening me with divorce again? Using the same trick over and over, don't you find it boring? As she spoke, she turned her head to instruct others. Go have the legal department draft a divorce agreement. I'll send him the specific requirements later. After giving instructions, Xiao Yunxue looked at me again. It's fine. I'll fulfill all your demands today. Half an hour later, small conference room. Xiao Yunxue and I sat on opposite sides, with Zhao Su, whose wounds had been treated, accompanying her. The legal staff handed each of us our divorce agreements. While I was looking through mine, Xiao Yunxue added in a bitter tone, if everything looks fine, hurry up and sign it. Rest assured, to prevent someone from having an excuse to regret later, I've been very fair with the property division. You'll get everything you're entitled to. After reading it carefully, the content of the divorce agreement was indeed as she said. Including the company shares, my portion was all written there. After confirming everything was in order, I picked up the pen and signed my name. I needed to sign the other document too, and as I was about to exchange papers, I found Xiao Yunshue's hand pressing down on it. I tried to pull it away but couldn't. Looking up, I saw her expression had become even more unpleasant. Xiao Yunxue glared at me through gritted teeth. Are you really going through with this divorce? Think carefully. Once you've signed both documents, there's no going back. I didn't answer, just pulled a bit harder on the document. Sensing my attitude, her gaze grew even colder. She grabbed the pen beside her and signed her name on both copies of the divorce agreement. After throwing one copy to me, she pointed to the door and berated. Get out. I'll wait for you at the Civil Affairs Bureau at 9 tomorrow. I silently kept the divorce agreement and stood up to leave. As I left the small meeting room, I vaguely heard something being smashed on the floor inside. After cleaning up my workstation, I went home and started packing my luggage. Over 7 years, although I didn't like buying many things, I had still accumulated quite a bit. Besides one suitcase, everything else was packed and shipped away, and by then it was already dark. It was 8 p.m., but Xiao Yunxue hadn't returned. Just as I got into the taxi with my suitcase, several messages popped up on my phone. The first few were photos of Xiao Yunxue drinking alone, with many empty bottles already on the table. Then came a voice message from her friend. If she keeps drinking like this, I'm worried something will happen to her. Please come quickly, I can't stop her. The address followed below. Almost without thinking, I had the driver change the destination. At the entrance of the bar, after asking the driver to wait a moment, I found the private room following the information her friend sent. Just as I reached the door, I could see inside through the glass. My hand stopped on the doorknob. There were only 2 people in the private room now, embracing and kissing on the sofa. It was Xiao Yunxue and Zhao Su. An ugly smile twisted at my lips. Before the scene in the private room could become more R-rated, I turned and left. Halfway out, I met the person who had contacted me. She came out of the bathroom, shaking water from her hands, and looked at me with surprise. The private room is that way. You're going in the wrong direction. Someone came to pick her up. Leaving those words behind, I walked out of the bar. After arriving at the booked hotel, once I entered the room, I finally couldn't hold on anymore. All strength leaving my body, I collapsed onto the bed. 10 years of feelings aren't so easily cut off. I wasn't as indifferent as I appeared to be. I covered my eyes, blocking out the light. I knew Xiao Yunxue had feelings for Zhao Su, and she had always shown favoritism towards him. But I couldn't confirm whether she had actually been unfaithful. Whether it was accidental or intentional, seeing this scene today was also a relief for me. The last bit of struggle in my heart completely disappeared. The divorce cooling-off period ended. A month later, I got the divorce certificate, thinking I would have no more contact with Xiao Yunxue. But unexpectedly, we crossed paths again in less than half a month. When I received the court summons text notification, I was having dinner with Chu Rue. Entering the website, the detailed information came into view. Xiao Yunxue had taken me to court for allegedly leaking company secrets. Chu Rue, seeing this beside me, volunteered immediately. Looks like this time, you really need me to represent your case. Business disputes were exactly her area of expertise. I didn't refuse her kind offer. The next day, she accompanied me to understand the details of the case. A week ago, one of Xiao Yunshue's competing companies suddenly launched a project identical to the one in Zhao Su's hands. The creativity and style were almost identical, but the progress needed to be a bit faster. If the competing company complete the project first, Xiao Yunxue would face not only the failure of the project, but also compensation to the partner company. But what truly sparked her thunderous rage was that the project's failure and its subsequent chain reactions would likely destroy her company's chances of going public. Xiao Yunxue couldn't possibly swallow this bitter pill quietly. But somehow through her investigation, she ultimately fixed her suspicions on me. She believed that I had leaked the materials. I couldn't recall ever leaking any company secrets, but Chu Rue reminded me. False accusations could result in defamation charges. Without substantial evidence, Xiao Yunxue wouldn't dare take me to court. Truth in court requires evidence to support it. We don't know what evidence Xiao Yunxue has right now. It's best to meet with her before the trial, so we can be prepared. I followed her advice, and Xiao Yunxue confirmed the meeting time. After 2 weeks apart, her temper was still as volatile as ever. Or rather, her attitude towards me was still hostile. As soon as we met, she swung her hand at me. After I caught her hand, she deliberately raised her other hand. But I pushed her away, making her stumble and interrupting her action. Now that we're divorced, I won't let her bully me anymore. Zhao Su steadied Xiao Yunxue, maintaining an intimate posture while turning the blame on me. Before coming here, President Xiao defended you, saying the data might have been stolen and you were just an innocent party caught up in it. President Xiao cares so much about you, yet you push her as soon as you meet. Do you have any conscience? If there was really such consideration, why didn't they communicate with me first, rather than taking me directly to court? Ignoring his nonsensical words, I sat back in my seat. With my hands on the table, I rested my chin on my interlocked hands. Let's skip the small talk and get straight to business. Why are you so certain that the project information was leaked through me? Xiao Yunxue refuted without hesitation. Who else could it be if not you? You've always resented Axu for taking your project. Among all those who had access to the project materials, only you had the motive to do this. Indeed, I dislike him, but I wouldn't do something so tasteless. I calmly asked. Do you have any evidence to prove I did it? Just as Xiao Yunxue was about to speak, Zhao Su held her hand down. Since my divorce from Xiao Yunxue, he no longer acted as vulnerable in front of me as before. Of course we have evidence, but we won't tell you. What if you try to steal or destroy it? Zhao Su's curled lips held a hint of malice, and he appeared confident. I know why you're so eager to meet with President Xiao. You're afraid that after losing the lawsuit, you'll not only have to pay compensation but also go to jail. However, this matter isn't completely non-negotiable. Someone has to compensate for such a huge loss to the company. We can agree to withdraw the lawsuit, but you must compensate for the company's losses. I shifted my gaze and followed up with, how should I compensate? How much would it be? This time Xiao Yunxue spoke first. After all, we were husband and wife. I won't let you go completely bankrupt. My demands are not high. Just return the company's shares to me, and I will withdraw the lawsuit from court. I kept my eyes fixed on Xiao Yunxue and successfully caught a glimpse of evasiveness in her eyes. So this was her real purpose in taking me to court. She must have regretted being so generous when signing the divorce agreement out of anger. Everything else was negotiable, but this company was her life's work. She wanted to take back the shares she had given to me. After getting the shares back, even if the company's IPO failed, she would still have a chance to make a comeback. Understanding this, I smiled. Isn't President Xiao being a bit too greedy? Does the loss from this project even amount to 1/10 of the value of the shares I hold? Xiao Yunxue pressed her lips together in silence, while Zhao Su spoke as her mouthpiece. Compared to going to prison and having a criminal record, these shares shouldn't mean much, right? His eyes were arrogant, and his tone was full of threat. Brother Nan, you should know that reputation is very important in our line of work. With a prison record, it will be very difficult for you to survive in this business in the future. Seeing my silence, Xiao Yunxue finally spoke. The shares were originally mine, so this is just returning things to their rightful owner. She pursed her lips again and continued. I heard you haven't found a job since leaving. If you're willing to return the shares to me, besides withdrawing the lawsuit, I can also agree to let you come back to work at the company. And even if you want. She suddenly stopped at this point, which instead aroused my curiosity. Even what? Nothing. Xiao Yunxue shook her head. I can give you time to consider. As long as you agree to my conditions before the court hearing, I can withdraw the lawsuit. No need to consider. I can give you my answer right now. If you believe in the evidence you have, then we'll see each other in court. I stood up and adjusted my clothes. After deliberately glancing at Zhao Su and giving a meaningful smile, I turned and left. Soon, the court hearing day arrived. In the court, after both parties made their statements, Xiao Yunshua's appointed lawyer presented the evidence. There was an unregistered secondary account on my old phone. The chat history of this secondary account showed. On the afternoon when I applied for annual leave, I sent some project materials to an unknown contact. I kept the old phone at the company as some materials on it might be needed. I was also at the company that afternoon. The time, location, and people all matched up. Faced with seemingly conclusive evidence, Chu Rue simply handed over a USB drive. I smiled at Zhao Su, who was sitting in the plaintiff's family section. The USB drive contained surveillance footage. In the footage, Zhao Su took advantage of my absence from my workstation to secretly take out my phone from the drawer and operate it. Although the surveillance didn't capture what he was doing on the phone, the timestamp in the bottom right corner perfectly matched the time shown in the chat records. Zhao Su abruptly stood up from his seat, his face turning deathly pale. From his look of disbelief, I knew what he was surprised about. Among so many security cameras in the company, I had actually installed surveillance at my workstation. Xiao Yunxue left the plaintiff's seat and rushed up to slap Zhao Su. How dare you deceive me? Besides this time, how many other times have you lied to me? Trust is hard to build, but it can collapse in an instant. Once the concealing leaves were removed, the truth became evident. From Xiao Yunshue's vengeful attitude towards Zhao Su and her occasional guilty glances at me, I knew she had finally understood many things from the past. But what did that have to do with me? Time won't flow backwards, and a broken mirror can't be made whole again. Everything between Xiao Yunxue and me was over. No matter how much truth she understood now, it wouldn't change this outcome. In the end, Zhao Su was detained in court for forging evidence and leaking company secrets. Xiao Yunxue received a warning for disrupting court order. After leaving the courtroom, I stretched. Analyzing that day's encounter, Chu Rui and I reached a conclusion. There was a more than 90% chance that Zhao Su had forged the evidence, and Xiao Yunxue knew nothing about it. Even with the direction, evidence wasn't easy to find. Plus, I hadn't realized that Zhao Su would dare to leak secrets so brazenly at my workstation. It was Chu Rui who, based on her experience, didn't miss any subtle clues, and finally helped us focus on the surveillance camera at the workstation. And from there we obtained the evidence. Come to think of it, that surveillance camera was installed by Xiao Yunxue. It was our playful setup when we were still in a relationship. Now it has cleared my name, which is quite an ironic twist of fate. After I thanked Chu Rui, Xiao Yunxue called out to me from behind. She walked up to me and asked in a bitter tone, "Since you knew the truth all along, why didn't you tell me?" "I wouldn't dare to. What if you tried to steal or destroy the evidence?" Those were Zhao Su's exact words from that day, which I repeated. Xiao Yunxue looked as if she had been slapped. After stumbling slightly, she came forward again and grabbed my sleeve. "No, just tell me the truth, and I'll definitely clear your name. After all these years of marriage, don't you trust me at all?" Chu Rui laughed from the side. I gave her a dark look, then shook off Xiao Yunshue's hand. "Trust goes both ways. You never trusted me, so how can I trust you?" After that, I didn't look at her reaction and walked down the steps. If Xiao Yunxue had even a bit of trust in me, she could have known the truth just by checking the company's security footage. But she didn't. Once she got the evidence from Zhao Su, she was convinced I was the one who leaked the information. That's why Zhao Su dared to deceive her with false evidence. Xiao Yunxue never trusted me, only showed prejudice time and time again. After getting in the car, Chu Rui asked me, "What are your plans now?" "I don't know. I'll sell off my shares first." Through the car window, I looked at the dejected figure